welcome to another edition of the Peristyle Podcast on a Wednesday. I'm your host, Ryan Abraham, publisher of USCFootball.com, sitting next to my friend, Mr. Connor Morrissette. Call him Triple Double. And we got Automatic, India Otto in the driver's seat over there. It should be a fun show today. There was a little bit of a fire drill getting this ready. We have a brand new computer. I don't know if you want to show the overhead.
Yes, absolutely.
We can do that. So a couple new cameras, the brand new computer with a way bigger monitor for India. There's
really
a
long.
few things just to get it all running. Like literally I had set it up 20 minutes ago, and now we're live. So hopefully it's going well. A little behind the scenes of how the sausage was made. But it's going to be a fun show for you today. We're going to talk about Purdue. Obviously, Michigan State coming up this weekend, a big injury from the USC secondary. It's already been banged up a little bit. We'll get into all of that stuff. If you have questions or comments, you can email us, podcast@uscfootball.com, or call or text us at 424-254-9141. We got at least one voicemail for you today and a bunch of email questions that have come in. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, you can leave us a 5-star rating for the Peristyle Podcast, which we love. We love when you do that. On Apple, you can leave a review, and Spotify, you can have individual comments on all of the different episodes. So leave us some comments. I got to look at Spotify and see if we got any new ones and stuff. But it should be a fun show. Welcome in, everybody. And it looks like we're working, so I'm happy about that.
It's going smoothly so far, so good.
Yeah, nice job, Ryan, getting it all set up. I think, Monday night you were in here, and everything works great, so.
I sent them a picture. I was taking the computer apart. Like my old computer, I grabbed one of the hard drives out of that internal, put it in this one.
I didn't even know what I was looking at, too. It was like, it gave me a headache just looking at like what he was dealing with, so I'm impressed.
My engineer days back in the day. And then, whatever. But yeah, we should be working. Hopefully the cameras are working well, and we're broadcasting live. I do want to thank our sponsor, Trader Joe's. They've been awesome to us over the years. If you're just, hey, I'm a little hungry, I just go to TraderJoe's.com and check out what they got here. And first thing, if you look under what's new, the meatball calzone. And I'm a big meatball guy. I love meatballs. I love some calzones. I don't get calzones all the time, but like meatball subs I get a lot. But this meatball calzone looks really good. They tell you how to pronounce it, calzone. Italian speakers say. So anyway, but check it out over on the website, and that looks legit. You can see the picture there, Connor. But it's I should have put a picture up for our YouTube audience, which we're live on YouTube and live on Facebook, by the way. I forgot to mention that. Comments, if you want to put them into the chat, India will put them up on the screen. Are those working and everything okay?
Yep, they look great. I'll pull one up.
Awesome, yeah.
Right now.
If you're watching on Facebook, you're watching on YouTube, we appreciate it. We got Blackie Chan in there, which is awesome. But yeah, Blackie, go check out the meatball calzone. Why do I keep saying it wrong? Meatball
It's a tongue
calzone.
twister.
Meatball sub rolls off the tongue a little bit. With the calzone, makes it a little difficult.
Looks delicious, mouth-watering. I used to get a meatball calzone when I worked in high school at the Medway Cafe in Massachusetts.
Medway.
Yep. So
If you guys don't know, we literally grew up in towns next to each other in Massachusetts.
Wait, that's so cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Franklin, Milford, Massachusetts. Medway's like kind of in between, I guess, or right around there. I was a few years older than him, though. So. We didn't go to high school together. We didn't play like sports against each other.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool. Small world.
Nice. How are you guys doing?
Good.
doing well. Too bad Chasen Johnson got hurt against Purdue. I feel bad for him. He's going to be out for the year with a knee injury. Lincoln Riley said that yesterday. So some tough injury news for USC. I'm doing well, but I do feel really bad for Chasen. He came into that game, had a pass breakup, but re-aggravated a knee injury against Purdue. So USC's down a corner, and as Chris and I were talking about on instant analysis, that's probably the position group right now that's the most under the microscope because they gave up some big pass plays in that game. So the remaining corners, people will be watching, and we'll see if someone emerges alongside DeCarlos Nicholson, and even he had a couple up-and-down plays against Purdue. So that's a unit to monitor for sure.
Just coming into camp where you felt like Prophet Brown was going to be a big part of the secondary. Looks like, a veteran guy, going to be your starting nickel. And then kind of out of the blue, Alex Graham, the true freshman, was stepping into that role. And then neither one of those guys have played. And we knew that Prophet would be out for a while. We're not sure when he's going to get back. We didn't realize how long Alex Graham was going to be out. Giving up some, big pass plays or chunk plays. I think they were not necessarily big ones over the top, but a lot of chunk plays. And I think USC is like 103rd in the nation in plays allowed of 10 yards or more. A lot of those came through the passing game. So obviously a lot of people are going to look at the secondary. And Chasen Johnson, a late addition for USC after spring football. I think a lot of people felt like he was going to be able to come in and have a big role in this secondary. And just sort of slow, had that, kind of got his knee banged up in fall camp a little bit. And like you mentioned, gets the pass break up. But at some point, I don't think we know when in the Purdue game, but at some point.
Yeah, we don't know when in the Purdue game, but I think we were at the open practice when he initially got hurt. It was one of those open ones back in the summer. And he was with the first team defense, and then after that he was just out for a little bit, and then when he came back, he was with the reserves. So he was really trending in the right direction. And there's a reason the staff took him after the spring practice in the spring window, because they had DJ Harvey. Like, they had a good number of guys. I think they said, hey, we could use another piece here. We could use some more competition. And Trevon Reed obviously had a prior relationship with Chasen Johnson. So they brought him in to fill a need to play a lot. And now someone else is going to have to step up, whether that's Harvey, whether that's Marcellus Williams or Braylon Conley, maybe Prophet Brown when he comes back. He is out of his wheelchair, so that's good. I don't know when he'll play, but happy to see Prophet walking again after he was scooting around at practice. So they have some other options, but an option that they were high on is now out of the picture.
And it's interesting, you mentioned like his stock was high. I think when camp started, Prophet Brown's stock was high. You're like,
yep.
Oh, it looks like he's going to be the guy. And, you got a veteran. There's a lot of options in this secondary. It looks like Prophet Brown's going to be the guy. And that was kind of the first bigger type of injury that we had heard about. Alex Graham came out of nowhere. His stock was high, and then ends up being out. We still haven't seen him yet. And then, obviously, this one with Chasen Johnson, there was momentum in camp and just never really materialized after he got banged up a little bit, and then obviously re-aggravated it, whatever it was. But unfortunately, he's going to be out for the season. And I think when we thought this defense was going to step up and be better in 2025, I think a lot of the concern was up front. USC's leading the nation in sacks right now. They've been doing much better in tackles for loss, and we'll see if that continues as the schedule gets harder. But I think the secondary is one of those areas where you felt like there was enough talented bodies that would be able to, like, you'd figure it out. And they've kind of rotated a lot. They just haven't sort of figured out what's going to work yet. And some of it might be Kamari Ramsey, playing kind of out of position where his natural safety spot, and he's stepped up and played closer to the line of scrimmage, kind of like hybrid nickel role or whatever. So having two nickels out, maybe that's hurt things. But something's not quite been it's not been as smooth in secondary as I thought it would be.
Yeah, I agree. I think Kamari playing nickel, as you just said, is a big part of it. And he actually had the helmet communication tool in this game. I know I said last week it was him. It was Desmond Stevens the first two games, and USC switched it to Ramsey for the Purdue game. We'll talk to Lynn today about why he made that decision. So Ramsey not only has the helmet communication tool for the first time in his career in that game, he's playing out of position at nickel, so that's part of it, which I hope when he comes back to playing safety, when USC gets some guys back, like, he'll get back to his usual self. It's just interesting because you think back to last year, that first conference game was on the road at Michigan, and they couldn't pass the ball. But, like, don't you remember, besides those two explosive run plays, just being so impressed with the USC defense, and they looked so buttoned up, and it was like the first real game of the, outside of LSU, the first real conference game of the D'Anton Lynn era, and I was like, okay, here we go. And I think I kind of thought the defense would look like that this year, and for whatever reason, there's just been a lot of moving pieces, and it's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly what's going wrong. I mean, the defensive backs are playing a little bit off the receivers, but you'd think, like, the team leads the nation in sacks. They have a dominant front seven. That group has looked really good. You would just think that would lead to all the success, and USC, they're getting stops with turnovers, but they're not really forcing many punts, and it's still early in the year. But Purdue, like, I was just surprised leaving that game how easy Purdue was able to move the ball, and how guys were pretty consistently open. And again, Michigan couldn't pass the ball, so maybe this is a bad comparison. But I remember leaving that Michigan game being like, okay, yeah, that was a tough loss, but this defense looks really, really good. I think right now you can say the front looks really good for USC, but outside of that, Bishop Fitzgerald's made some nice plays. For whatever reason, the stats, you'd think it's this dynamic defense and it would be amazing, but clearly they still have some things to work on.
Yeah, I think for my, we're going to talk about Michigan State coming up. We'll talk about Purdue too, but one of my 3 keys to victory, I think, is going to be forcing 3 and outs. I'm starting to look up some of the stats for that, but USC only had 1 3 and out against Purdue, and it was the last one, when the game was, essentially over. They get one at the very end. That's one of the things you would like to see more of, because in 2022, when USC had a lot of success and won 11 games, I mean, that was, people talked about fool's gold as far as the defense going, that they just gave up a lot of plays, but they made all these, created all these turnovers. And right now, USC's getting what was lacking last year, big negative plays, really opportunistic turnovers. Bishop Fitzgerald thwarting 2 potential touchdowns with his interceptions. And then, of course, Jamal Jarrett with, flipping the field and getting a touchdown all on his own. Those are plays you can't rely on, So it feels a little more 2022-ish, which that's the most surprising thing for me, because we did see last year a more fundamentally sound defense, instead of guys looking at their wristband as the ball's being snapped. Do you remember that? And they're trying to figure out what to do. They seem to know where to go, but for some reason this year it's not some of those fundamentals. And maybe it's just playing more bend, don't break. I'm not sure. But some of that seems missing.
I think the bottom line is the team gets all this pressure. They're number 1 in sacks. You would just think that would lead to better results, and it's led to fine results. The team's 3-0. But, if you told us that before the year, through 3 games, USC would lead the country in sacks, I think we'd all be like, oh, okay, here we go. This defense is elite. It's what we thought. Heading into the season, we all kind of thought the defense was going to be better than the offense. At least I did. That seemed to be a pretty common thought with a lot of people, and I think so far the offense has been the better unit. So just something to watch. I do think when Kamari Ramsey goes back to his natural spot, that'll really help a lot. And as Desmond Stevens continues to get up to speed at Mike linebacker, he's getting a lot of crap, which I don't think is totally deserved. I think he's learning on the job a little bit, but I need to go back and watch the second half. I just finished watching the first half before getting here. I didn't really notice Stevens making any negative plays. I thought he's been fine. So I know he's kind of been getting some criticism on the Peristyle and from USC fans. I'd just preach patience with him. I think he's right on track, and I'd be more concerned about the secondary.
Yeah.
I have a question. I know some people are kind of talking about it in the chat, and I actually had this thought coming in too. I know with UCLA firing their coach in Virginia Tech as well, the players are able to transfer right now freely. Do you think there's a chance USC picks up any transfers in the portal?
They can't play if they did come, so because they've already played for their current school. So maybe after the season, but I mean, you watch those UCLA games. There's not really anyone that you're like, oh, that guy would really help.
Yeah.
And I'm not really sure on Virginia Tech. But, yeah, so just because the portal's open, the guys can enter, but they can't. And they could go somewhere else.
They can't play right now.
So it's tough, I think, for coaches. It's like early scouting if there is somebody that you were interested in and their name's in the portal. But kind of now, if the players are worth anything, they know where they're going almost before they hit the portal. There's a lot of, if there are players at UCLA, and Danton Lynn was over there, they brought in a few players when he came over, but I don't know, probably not too many more relationships there or guys that are still around. But usually the schools are in the same town. I think you have relationships with a bunch of those guys. So if there's someone that the coaches have their eye on, I think that's a possibility. But we haven't heard anything specific on that. I had a question for you, India.
Yes.
It's different, football, basketball, obviously, but when you're talking about playing defense as a unit, 11 guys in football, and you have 5 for hoops, but someone playing out of position, have you seen it where just sort of the players are all good, but it hasn't helped, they're not meshing because someone might be playing the 4 instead of 3 or whatever it was, they're playing out of position. Have you seen that kind of stuff?
I've seen it a little bit, but for basketball, and I know in particular our kind of defensive guru was Coach Beth Burns, who's a genius on the defensive end, and she always preaches communication and moving on a string. So there was really not many times where maybe somebody was playing out of position and they weren't kind of sure what they were doing. All 5 people on the floor were very much in sync and on a string and communicating. And that's why you communicate. Like if somebody is out of position and they're not quite sure what to do or hesitating, like that's why you have teammates come in to help, and like you're constantly helping one another. So for basketball, yeah, I mean, there's times where like maybe somebody is a little bit unsure of what to do and not as confident because they're playing a little bit out of position. But for the most part, you're just all in one string and talking and helping one another if somebody's out of position. And when you communicate, you fix a lot of things that may go wrong.
Yeah. I don't know if that's happening, but it might be analogous to what's going on in the secondary, like the basketball floor with 5 and 5 DBs on the field. It doesn't look like there's confusion, but maybe playing off more just to protect a little bit. And you're not really giving up the massive plays, but yeah, I looked up, I think for 10-yard plays or more, USC is like 103rd in the country. Like they've given up a whole bunch of those, and that's, it's not leading to as many punts and certainly not 3 and outs.
No, and I do think the fluke first touchdown for Purdue, like if that's a pick 6, we're probably not having this conversation.
True, yeah.
It was very close to being that, so you just got to roll with the punches. But then on the flip side, like that's just football where Ryan Brown throws an interception on 3rd and goal, took points off the board. That was a nice play by USC. But like the Jamal Jarrett play, awesome pressure from Kamari Ramsey, pretty fluky that it just winds up in Josh Jarrett's hands and he returns it 70 yards. Hell of a play. So that, there's breaks on both sides, and you just got to kind of call it how you see it. So, yeah, that was a play where Eric Gentry kind of fell asleep a little bit, but, I mean, he's been tremendous this season. I really have no issue with what he's doing. And I just think overall, too, like this defense, they might not all be firing or might not all be clicking and firing on all cylinders, like all the different positions, but they're certainly playmakers. Well, with Bishop Fitzgerald with the interceptions, Eric Gentry, what he's been able to do, Kamari Ramsey, we know, is a playmaker. Then the guys up front on the defensive line, we've seen a lot of plays from them. So I think that's a big thing that was missing last year, where maybe they were more buttoned up a year ago, but they didn't have as many playmakers, and when you needed the big play, it didn't come in some of those road games. And against Purdue, they did get the big play defensively. Might not have been as early as some people would have liked, but they still got them, and that ultimately made the big difference, and they weren't getting those last year. So that is a change from a year ago.
We could talk a little Purdue, and then we can get into like some Michigan State stuff. And I know we got a bunch of questions, and if you have questions in the chat, either on Facebook or YouTube, put them in there. India can star them, and it should be easier for her to find them now. I've got a much bigger screen for her to look at and stuff. The weather delay was the big one. Just give them a thumbs up. That was a big one. I think I have a picture of like the screen, India, if you want to put that up there. But just 3 hours plus to have, I filmed and streamed live on our YouTube channel the team warming up, go through the whole warm up and stuff. Purdue never came out and warmed up. Talking with administrators in the press box and their concern, and they're telling me about there's Big Ten rules and all this stuff. And, USC fans, you're not going to get a lot of lightning delays because there's just not a lot of storms like that in Southern California. The last time USC was involved in something like that was in the, I think, MetLife Stadium with Syracuse in 2012. You weren't there yet, right?
No, I was in high school then.
Yeah. But that was like coming out of halftime. And then I was talking with Peter Arbogast about this. And in 1990, USC played Ohio State, and the end of the game just got canceled because USC was up 9. They recovered an onside kick, and Ohio State had no more touchdowns, and then lightning happened. But none of us could remember ever a time where a 3-hour delay. And I thought USC did a good job handling it because there was a lot that has to happen with meals and, when you're, just the routine of doing everything. You've already come out, warmed up, done everything, go in the tunnel. You're expecting to come out and play a game, and now you're in there figuring out what to do, trying to, get on the bike, whatever, eating, whatever you need to do. I thought they handled it well. That was with USC's road issues last year. To have something like that happen, you're like, uh-oh, this could be trouble. And it wasn't trouble.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, God. Oh, no.
Yeah, overall, I felt like Lincoln Riley really stayed calm during the whole ordeal. Like, I listened to his halftime interview with Jenny Dale on the CBS broadcast, and he was just really lighthearted, and the first thing he said was, Jenny was like, how'd you handle the delay? And Lincoln gave a big smile and was like, well, they just ended up pushing this game to West Coast time. We're used to this. We were ready. And he does seem a lot more confident and calm, cool, and collected compared to last year. I've told the story before on the podcast, but I remember at Media Day for the Big Ten 2 years ago in Indianapolis, just leaving there, you didn't get the sense that Riley was all that confident. And leaving Big Ten Media Day this year in Las Vegas, it was different. And just as the year has gone on, Riley does seem a lot more confident. And how they handled that break and just the reaction to it and what he said, like it seems like a confident head coach who led his team through some adversity, and they ended up being fine. I mean, I was kind of nervous about maybe a slow start after a 3-hour delay, and they kind of it was the opposite where USC didn't play as well in the second half. So maybe he was just really confident in his game plan. But that interview was at halftime with USC leading 17-3, so that could have been another reason he was happy. But I don't know, just the vibes from him I'm noticing are better, and we'll see if that continues as the opponents get tougher.
Yeah. So that was a weird one, and then maybe one of the weirdest plays you'll see in India.
There are a bunch of weird ones.
We have a video of that if you want to play it, and then it's down the bottom. Yeah, like Jamal Jarrett, like he's just sort of like
this was epic,
hanging in the middle of the trash there at the line. And who put the pressure on it was
Kamari Ramsey and Devin Tompkins. Ramsey really made the hit. And
then the ball pounds up in the air. Ja returns it 70 yards.
Give me that celebration.
Hey,
rubbing the belly.
Gentry waving to the crowd.
Yeah, he was awesome. This is Chris Trevino's video, by the way, if you're watching on YouTube and stuff.
That was epic.
Pretty freaking cool how he whatever it was, like a Purdue running back or something comes running up to him and he just like pushes him out of the way. I'm already scored. And
I like Lucas's little push, like, come on, buddy, just get through the end zone to at the end.
We interviewed him on Monday. We're still waiting for approval because USC needs to approve these. Thanks to your buddy Jean-Ray Reed, but
my buddy.
He's a Syracuse guy, So we did a great interview with him on Monday, and he talks about he held the ball up in the air at the 10, and Anthony Lucas was right next to him. It's like, put that down, and how they were taught, like, hey, if you're a defensive player and you're crossing the goal line, cross your arms around your chest, like hold the ball in there, like do not let anyone come from behind you and pop it away. Do not hold it up in the air so it can fall down. Do not drop it at the 1 yard line.
That's what I was scared about. I was like, I hope he doesn't drop it before he even reaches the end zone. And I was like, no, he's good. He knows what to do. But
so he was starting to celebrate at the 10, and he said Anthony Lucas reined him in, and he put it back down. But he said, yeah, they're taught to cross their arms at the chest. But hopefully we can play that for you soon. We're just waiting for approval from USC. It seemed like it was a good interview, but that was really neat insight from hearing from him about that play. He's never scored a touchdown in his life at any level. So to do it in a Big Ten road opener, 70 yards, how many defensive backs never get a 70-yard interception for a touchdown?
And he only played 4 snaps. Made the most of them.
Did.
So the 2 pick sixes were both defensive linemen? Wait.
What do you mean?
Pomerantz?
He didn't have a pick 6. He should have.
Oh, he didn't have the pick 6. Yeah.
He ran
the wrong way
to the tackler.
Yes.
Didn't follow his block.
I forgot about that. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So just the one. Or did Bishop Fitzgerald have a pick 6?
No, he had a pick
six in the first game. Yeah, that's right.
So he's had 3 picks.
He's everywhere.
Yeah, he's been awesome.
So Ja's only 2 picks behind him right now. But
right.
That was sort of the highlight of everything. And then just, we did a tunnel vision. We talked about this afterwards. But to see USC finish strong, and when Purdue was driving and it's a 13-point game, USC just doinked a field goal. 4 or 5 is pretty good. Settling for 5 field goals, that wasn't very good. So some red zone issues there. But to doink a field goal and you're like, uh-oh. The Maryland game was 14 points, so Maryland needed a 2-point conversion. But this was just been 2 touchdowns. We've seen this play out before. I think that was the Penn State. Maybe USC was up 13 on Penn State, something like that. And something close. But USC gets the stop with the Bishop Fitzgerald pick. And then we're able to run the ball and drain the clock and then get a 3-and-out at the end. Looked a little scary, and then the finish was really strong. And that's what you wanted, and you get your first Big Ten road win.
Woo! Finish was definitely better. I kind of go back and forth with it where going into this game, I felt like it was Colorado or Arizona State from 2 years ago where USC, even if they played with their food, they were going to win. And they did that. And they still won. It's obviously a totally different team with 2 years going by. But, did you ever really feel like that game was in the balance? In the second half, yes, it got close, and Purdue was driving the ball. But, they never did get that score that got them close because USC made plays, and that's kind of something that we've talked about leading into the game. Was just like USC has way more talent, and so this should be a game where they just out-talent Purdue, and I think that's ultimately what happened. So I do give him a lot of credit for getting the win on the road. It did get a little hairy there at the end. Not crazy. It wasn't like Purdue was totally knocking on the door, but they were making their way up to the front steps, we could say. So I just for me, like, I don't want to give them too much credit because they were 20.5-point favorites and they won the game. It's like they did what they were supposed to do. Tip of the cap. Nice job. There were still some things in that game where it's like, okay, they got to continue to get better. And Lincoln Riley acknowledges that, and that's, I'm not having this hot take. Everyone knows the team needs to get better. But before the season started, we all thought they were going to go 4-0 to start the year. Now they're 3-0. They got one more against Michigan State here. And then it was that Illinois game that everyone kind of circled. It's like, okay, here we go. How good will USC be this year? It doesn't, of course, all come down to one game, but I'm excited to get answers in a couple weeks from now. But, hey, don't look ahead to Michigan State, or don't look past Michigan State because they're a team that has some good offensive players. So got to beat them first. But, I give them credit for the win, but I'm not like, oh, my God, what a great win. Like, nice job. But 20-point favorites.
The Colorado game, I think you leave with a bad taste in your mouth.
Exactly.
Where you didn't. I don't think you left a bad. Like, it wasn't that bad.
I'm not. Not as bad as Colorado. And then Arizona State, I kind of left that game a little bit of a bad taste in the mouth too. So definitely better. But if they had landed a knockout blow in the third quarter, I think I would have said, okay, that firmly shows me that this team has taken a big leap from last year. I think they've certainly taken a step forward. Maybe not the big leap that some were expecting. I thought they were going to cover. I thought they were going to go in there and really execute on offense. They did in the first half, but then not as much in the second half. As long as they continue to get better, though, this whole point is moot. Yeah,
and I think at the end of the day, the fact that, like, Georgia Southern had some success early and Jayden Maiava got to get the ball with, down 6-0 and, like, you figure some stuff out. And USC did put the game away in the third quarter, so you had an opportunity to sort of, like, okay, fourth quarter, you're in danger. Can you step up? And I think ideally, yes, you just blow every team out. But
there's always going to be adversity.
Yeah, experiencing that adversity, I think, will help. That we can finish games in the fourth quarter. They did that against LSU to start the season, but just when they went on the road, real road games in the Big Ten, for whatever reason, it just wasn't the case. And so I think it can be a learning experience, from doing something like that. We'll see. What this weekend against, Michigan State. We'll talk about Michigan State next, but then obviously the road game at Illinois is matter a lot. But Sparty comes to town 3-0. And, Jonathan Smith, USC's had some experience with him. Oregon State was never an easy out. Aiden Childs doing a much better job, similar to Jayden Maiava. Now, he was the starter all last year, but turned the ball over a ton, and has been doing a really good job this year. They've suffered some injuries. They play FCS team and did not look like USC when they played a former FCS team. Youngstown State was in that game for a lot of it, so they haven't left home yet. This will be 11 p.m. local time for them, kickoff. I think USC has an easier time. The spread's not as big, but I think USC is going to have an easier time with Michigan State. We'll see. We'll see how they end up playing. But I think this is setting up a lot better for whatever reason. I think this will. I think Purdue's going to end up being a better team than Michigan State. But I don't know. We'll see. But just some high-level thoughts on the Spartans coming in.
I can give you my dime store analysis from watching
I love it.
Michigan State Youngstown State game earlier today. So Youngstown State, they did hang around, and at one point, Aiden Childs threw an interception, which led to Youngstown State having a chance to really put some pressure on Michigan State, but they missed a field goal. So while it wasn't really as close as I think Michigan State fans, or it wasn't as much separation as Michigan State fans would have liked, it was a little bit like the Purdue game where Michigan State was pretty much always in control. Yogi Roth had that comment on the broadcast, too. He never really felt like the game was in doubt. But, yeah, so Aiden Childs, a lot of people will be familiar with him because he's from Southern California out of Downey High School. You're right, Ryan. He's doing a better job this year of not turning the ball over, and he has thrown 6 touchdowns. He's a good runner. This is the best quarterback USC will have faced so far, so that'll be a fun challenge. Their best player is receiver Nick Marsh, and he didn't play in the second half against Youngstown State due to injury, and he's questionable in this game. He is someone who is elite. He's one of the best receivers on the USC schedule. He's kind of like if you combine Jacoby Lane and Mekhi Lemon, where he's great down the field, but he can also, if you give him a little screen, he can do what Mekhi Lemon does a little bit. He is just a really, really good player, and they might be without him, so that would be a huge loss. Their starting running back got hurt and is questionable. Their starting right guard, got hurt and is out for the rest of the season, so they're battling with a ton of injuries. They've been mixing and matching their offensive line. It's a team, it's kind of like Purdue. They're not a great team. They probably have a little bit more elite talent than Purdue. But if USC doesn't bring their A game, they can certainly make you pay. But I left that Youngstown State game thinking USC should have some success, especially throwing the ball against these guys. Their defense leaves a little bit to be desired. But defensively, USC will be challenged even if Marsh doesn't play because Childs is a solid quarterback. So this should be a fun game and another tune-up for the rest of the Big Ten, in my opinion. Michigan State really shouldn't threaten too much. If they do, that might be a little bit of a surprise. So we'll see how it plays out, of course. But, just kind of what we thought at the beginning of the year. Not a great team, but someone who can challenge USC if the Trojans aren't playing their A game. So I expect USC to win again.
Yeah, I do too. They played that thriller with Boston College. It was like 42-40 or something, double OT or was it? Yeah, double overtime. And I watched Stanford week 0 go to Hawaii and look like crap and lose to a probably not a great Hawaii team. And then Stanford whoops up on Boston College, right? Like was it like close or it wasn't? I mean, Stanford
30-20.
Yeah. Transitive property is never like a thing, but and matchups matter, and there's a lot of stuff there. But I've watched some Michigan State, and I need to go watch a little bit more of the Youngstown State game. But I was following along. I watched some of it. I think when we were in the press box or whatever on my iPad, was kind of watching it, and there wasn't even supposed to be a spread in that game, and it was certainly a lot closer. They were nowhere. I think it ended up being like 42 points or something. Like some other sports book had that, and certainly wasn't that close. For Michigan State to like not have like the dominating kind of performance at home, and you do get what you need with your quarterback not turning the ball over as much, because that's really was a problem last year. I just have a hard time picturing them going on the road, playing the super late game. Yep. I know there was some talk about trying to practice later, but there's like NCAA rules or something. Like you can't practice after like 9 p.m., but the game is going to kick off at 11 p.m. their time, so like they can't even get close to it. I guess there's ways to do waivers. I don't know. I haven't dug into it too much, but just the fact that you're thinking about that, like how do we practice at 9 p.m. is like a thing that you have to try to figure out. Like all that stuff isn't going to be super positive. For USC, it's a late game, but whatever. Yes, and they have, I think it's the widest range as far as kickoff times. USC is going to go back to back because they're going to have the latest kickoff you could possibly have, which is 8 p.m. local, and then the earliest one you could possibly have the next week, 9 a.m. local, because they're going to be on the big noon kickoff.
I think 11 a.m. Or it's not 9 a.m., right? In Illinois.
It's 9 a.m. in L.A.
Oh, in L.A. I thought
it's 11 a.m. in Illinois, right?
Yeah.
But 9 a.m.
so
our time.
So it's an 11-hour difference
from
wherever USC's time zone is, which I don't think you can't do at 9 p.m. kickoff. So I think that's the widest range you could have week to week. But I think this is as far as just disadvantages, doesn't mean it's going to ruin the game for Michigan State, but the little things like the weather delay didn't ruin it for USC, but I would say advantage Purdue if something like that was happening, and USC didn't let that be an advantage. Michigan State could come in and make sure that this is not a disadvantage, but on paper, the advantages are going to go to USC. We all expected them to go 4-0. I have a feeling they're going to have an easier time this weekend than they did, being at home than they did last week at Purdue, where Ryan Brown, I thought, played. He played well. He was tough.
He's a tough kid.
Got rid of the ball quickly, kept coming at you. Threw picks, but threw for over 300 yards. And I thought he played pretty well. Just similar to what Georgia Southern. Like I thought their quarterback played pretty well. Aiden Childs is dynamic. He could come in and have an amazing game, and that could cause some problems for a USC secondary that's already had some issues. But my gut feeling is that USC is just going to handle some business on Saturday night.
Michigan State has a pretty good tight end by the name of Jack Velling, so I don't know if Kamari Ramsey will continue to play nickel and cover him. That'll be a fun matchup. They do have some guys who pose matchup problems where I feel like with Purdue, we liked the quarterback. Those receivers were solid. Purdue's top receiver got poked in the eye on his first catch of the game and then didn't really play much the rest of the way, and they still had a lot of success. So he was the one guy we were like, oh, maybe he'll really challenge USC, but then other guys ended up challenging him. If these guys play for Michigan State, Marsh especially, he can really challenge a defense. So it'll be interesting to see how Jonathan Smith deploys some of these pieces where I feel like, even though I like USC to win this game, the elite talent on Michigan State, especially on offense, it's going to be a fun chess match between what Jonathan Smith wants to do, what D'Anton Lynn will do defensively, because Childs is good, Nick Marsh is good, Jack Velling is a good tight end. They have a really good second receiver, Michigan State. So I like the inner workings of D'Anton Lynn going up against this good offensive mind in Jonathan Smith. But then defensively for Michigan State, they gave up a bunch of points to Boston College. They gave up a lot of yards to Youngstown State. That game could have been closer if Youngstown State didn't miss a field goal. I think they're suspect defensively, and when you got Lincoln Riley on the other side and Jayden Maiava playing confidently right now and not turning the ball over like last season, Lane, Lemon, Wayman, Jordan, I just think it's a hard ask for Michigan State to really stay in the game defensively.
One of the things I want to bring up real quick before we'll take a break soon and start to get to your questions. So if you have questions in the chat, Facebook or YouTube, love to hear from you if you're watching us live. If you're watching a replay, we can't do that because we can't go back in time, but that would be awesome. But I probably wouldn't be doing this if I could go back in time. I would do some other things. But speaking of going back in time, one of the aspects we discussed was it did look like the Purdue offense sort of had some secret sauce. They sort of figured out some things to do. And I don't know if we brought up the Josh Henson aspect of it. Like, he got to practice against D'Anton Lynn for a whole year and maybe was like, look, we're going to be able to get the quick passing, 10-yard routes or 8-yard whatever, and we're going to be able to move the ball and have some success with that. It shortened the game for sure. Possessions were very limited, which you want to do if you're at a talent disadvantage. I don't know if you felt that his influence there had any kind of effect on how this USC defense played. I kind of think it did.
I think it did a little bit, but there was no, remember last year against Penn State when USC ran that reverse for Quentin Joyner, and that was just a perfectly schemed play, and Riley hit the nail on the head. Henson, maybe because he just had a talent advantage, there was no one or two plays where USC defensively was just caught with their pants down, besides the bad double pass that they were lucky to even complete. So, while I get what you were saying, to me, if there was one or two plays where they had a 50-yard gain or a 60-yard gain and it was really schemed up well and someone was wide open, I would look at that and say, okay, maybe that's Henson knowing Lynn's tendencies a little bit. I think a lot of it, for whatever reason, the corners were just playing off their guys, and there was just a lot of open space in some of whether USC was in man or zone, it didn't really matter. There was a lot of open space back there. So I don't know if that was Henson just being able to put guys in the best positions or USC having a lead and playing off their receivers a little bit. But I definitely get what you're saying, and I'm sure there was an advantage, but maybe I'd feel a little strongly about that if there were one or two plays that were more explosive for Purdue.
Yeah, I don't know if he was exploiting for the big play, but he seemed to be exploiting for just moving the chains a little bit. Yeah, maybe that was it. Maybe that, just nothing. Maybe just the way USC was playing. But if he's recognizing, look, they're protecting against this, so let's shoot the underneath stuff and keep doing that. And, eventually they took a couple shots downfield and got picked off, the one, from Bishop Fitzgerald. But it seemed like they were at least not getting, if you're a team like that, you don't want to go 3 and out and punt and give the ball back to a USC offense that was moving it, But I think Purdue averaged 45 yards a drive, So it was sort of like one of those things where just keep the ball for a while. And yes, they weren't able to finish those drives because of some of the turnovers and everything. But it seemed like they were able to, keep the ball moving. And that's one thing I want to look for for USC at Michigan State. Like, you need some 3 and outs. You need more punts that, when Michigan State's punting from their side of the field, not like it's 4th down decision time because you've driven so far, you're like in the no man land or whatever. I want to see a little bit more of that. So we'll see. But Purdue was really good about not just getting the ball, you're crossing midfield, and, punting's not really an option anymore. And I want to see a little bit more of that against Michigan State.
The last thing I'll say on this, I think Lynn did an excellent job of taking away the run for Purdue. Devin Mockabee only the 12 carries for 45 yards, which left the pass game a little vulnerable. And I think Henson game plan against that, and they were down, so they had to throw it. But Purdue wants to run the ball. They didn't have a lot of success doing it against Ball State. They really made a big emphasis to run it against Southern Illinois, with Mockabee having 32 freaking carries. That was what they wanted to do. And I think pretty early in the game, Henson was like, okay, we can't run the ball, so we're going to have to throw it, and that factored into things as well.
Nice.
Cool. Should we get into a quick break before we get into?
That's a great idea.
Into some of the action.
India.
All
Automatic.
Right. We'll be back, guys. We're going to take a quick little break. And we're back.
Yes. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, it wasn't much of a break.
Yeah, exactly.
But we got to do it. This is the podcast, so we got to take our little podcast break. But yeah, we got one voicemail, and then we got some emails, and actually got a DM on the Peristyle.
Oh, wow.
Someone had some
Ryan getting some DMs out here.
Someone slipping in my DMs about questions for the podcast or whatever.
Wow.
Or no, actually, I think it wasn't a DM. I think it was actually replying to
a story?
the thread. Yeah. So when I posted that we were going to be live.
Gotcha.
But that's all in there. But I don't know. You want to start with the voicemail?
Let's
India?
do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Hey, Peristyle Podcast. It's Rick from Vista. Hope you're doing well. Obviously, hopes are high. The 3-0 record is pretty good. At least it's a start. Got a question about, was it Jarrett that made that interception and rumble to the end zone? Obviously, we're trying to upgrade every year that we go on, and that big 26, 27 class coming up is going to be a huge influx of talent. Is Tom play the same position as Jarrett? So that would be a big upgrade, because I've seen Tom play in high school, and the dude dominates the line. Whoever he's playing against, he's slipping by him or running through him. He just looks like, if that's the same position that Jarrett plays, that's going to be a big production increase. Anyways, I just like your thoughts. Thanks, Mike.
Tom is a big dude, 6'3", 320. Not as big as Jamal Jarrett, who's weighing in at 360 pounds. So Jarrett is that classic nose tackle, even though he didn't look like a nose tackle on that interception return for
Vince
a touchdown.
Wilfork, returning something like crazy.
I feel weird saying this, but Tom is a little bit more athletic than Jamal Jarrett, and we saw how athletic Jamal Jarrett is. He
was sprinting.
Is really athletic too. So Tom is such a talented guy. He's someone who can play both those spots. I don't envision him as a nose tackle. I think he's more of a defensive tackle because he's more athletic and can move really well. So they don't really play the same position. But in the middle, there's always going to be a lot of overlap, and Tom certainly could in some situations be a nose tackle and anchor that defensive line. But they could, in the future, play next to each other potentially. That could be a partnership if Jamal Jarrett sticks around for next season, which I don't see why he wouldn't after making that great play. And Tom's a true freshman. Maybe early in the year, Danton Lynn, if he's still around, they're trying out some new formations. Those are guys who could play next to each other in the future. And that's fun.
Yeah, and that'd be great. And Rick's making it sound like he's like Jamal, only shotgun. Connor mentioned he only played 4 snaps in this game. It wasn't like he's the starting defensive nose tackle there. So they're working him in some. I think you'd like to see some more production from him and get him some more playing time in that rotation. Obviously, probably earned something with the pick 6 that he had. But yeah, it's not like he's the mainstay at nose tackle right now for USC. He's sort of kind of getting worked in there with all the other guys they have, and I think the defensive line rotation seems to be working pretty well. We're not seeing the same thing in the secondary rotation, so got to work on that.
Yeah, how about Floyd Boucard in that defensive line rotation?
Yeah, what is it? He's had 16 snaps and like 7 pressures.
17 pressures, or 17 snaps, 6 pressures,
yeah.
I think, and he had the sack. He's been awesome.
So you're going to see more from him, too. Some good opportunities there from the youngin.
The future is bright in that on that defensive line, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Should we get into? Thank you, Rick, for your voicemail. Should we get into some emails?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
3 simple words. You've got mail.
All right. Our first email from the P. Ryan, as a Heisman voter, how do you evaluate nominees? Do you more heavily weigh big games? Do you factor in stats against FCS teams? Because of your work on POC, you watch a ton of football games, so I feel confident that you have done the research before voting. Follow-up question.
Okay.
If you both were AP voters, how would you evaluate teams? Would you be in the more deserving camp or in the more best team in the country camp? This would be the difference between ranking Notre Dame and not ranking Notre Dame.
Thanks for the question. Yeah, that came on the Peristyle. I take the voting for the Heisman seriously. It's like, my favorite award. And
who'd you vote for last year? Genty or Hunter?
No, I did Hunter first.
Genty second.
And then Genty, and then I forget who was the other people.
Yeah, I forget.
Yeah, it's hard to remember. But
sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No, that's okay. But Hunter, like, to me, he just did things that you've never seen before. And I'm not a big, like, I never thought Manti Te'o should have been on the ballot when people were putting him on there. He wasn't scoring touchdowns. He didn't have any, like, I don't think he had any fumbles or anything. Like, he was just because he was on Notre Dame and they were having a good season, he was up there. Like a Gino Torretta from back in the day. Like, just because you're the quarterback of like the best team in the country, I don't necessarily be okay, you should get my vote. But like when Joe Burrow throws for like 60 touchdowns, you're like, yes. I mean, that's ridiculous. I loved what Genty did last year. In a normal year,
he would have won.
I would think he would have won. But Travis Hunter did stuff that like we've never seen before. To be elite on both sides of the ball, like this, that's like Shohei Ohtani stuff, where he just went 50 homers and 50 strikeouts, like stuff that no one's ever done. Are you going to say Shohei is not the MVP? Because like, well, he's not. Like, I get it. Like Schwarber is awesome, or whatever, but he's doing things that you've never seen, like in the sport. And to me, Travis Hunter did that. So I'm not a big like, if he's a defensive guy, but and Chris Houston, who's was the Heisman pundit and he does stuff he does a Heisman podcast now. I've talked with him a lot over the years about the Heisman Trophy, and I try not to make it about like just because he's the best guy on the best team, like whatever. Like that, or if he's the best guy on the best team, like that can help. But if just because you're the quarterback of the best team doesn't mean that you should win. So I kind of look every year about what. It's not like I'm not taking out stats against FCS opponents, but if they play 3 FCS opponents and some guy got 50 sacks and half of them were against those teams, like, okay, I probably would throw that out. But for the most part, you're looking at the entire body of work and, comparing them to their peers. And some years, like, that guy would definitely win. I think Genty would have won most years. I'd have no problem voting for a guy for Boise State. But just because if you're on a group of 5 team and you put up crazy numbers, but you never really did it against tough competition, then that I'm going to weigh that as well. But yeah, like for Hunter, that was the easy one for me last year. He was just so ridiculous.
And then with the AP poll, I don't have a vote. I think we all know who has the USC vote. I think the resume stuff is important, but I'm a firm believer in it will all work itself out. And I think one thing with the AP vote, I would look at injuries too a little bit more than most people, where like Lenora Sellers gets hurt for South Carolina. I don't know his status for this week. We all saw them get killed by Vanderbilt after. Like, if they don't have him, they don't have a freaking
rank
chance.
them. Yeah.
So then I would move them down. It's also why I had no issue with Florida State being left out of the playoff a couple years ago. That really pissed a lot of people off. Everyone freaked out. Alabama shouldn't have gotten in. What do you mean? And then they take the national champion to overtime. So you're telling me they weren't one of the 4 best teams when the team that won it all, that team that you didn't think deserved to get in, takes that champion to overtime? That should have ended the debate right there. Seems like I should have a vote. I care too much about this stuff. But I look at that as well. So that would be how it all would come together for me. But I just want to stress, too, like, I wouldn't freak out about Notre Dame being 0-2 and ranked right now. It's all going to take care of itself. Things are going to work out. You got to keep winning. You'll get ranked. If Notre Dame loses again, they'll probably drop out. Like, I get having them ranked when they've lost 2 close games to 2 teams that we think are pretty good right now. But stuff can change, and maybe they have an injury or something, and they could drop out. But, like, I don't really think it's a reputation thing with them. I just think they've played 2 good teams. They've been 2 close games. There's not a lot of really good teams out there. I don't have an issue with them being 24.
I think the biggest issue, and I take it seriously because I do feel like the committee looks at the AP poll. I think when you're the SEC and you could say we have 11 teams ranked, it's like all these narratives about.
I also think the middle of the SEC is good. So everyone seems to crap on the SEC because they haven't had a champion in the last couple of years. I get that.
But
the middle of that conference is really good and better than the Big Ten.
But if Nebraska was in the SEC, they'd be ranked right now at 3-0, and they're not. And there's like
they were 6-6 last year.
I get it, but
I don't know
there
if
was
I
teams that
agree
were
with
bad.
that.
Florida was bad last year, and they were ranked early on.
Not anymore.
No, well, not because they lost, but
exactly.
they got the benefit of the doubt early. They got the benefit
so what? They're going to go 5-7. They won't be ranked at the end of the year.
They might still be ranked. I don't know. They're like, oh, that's the SEC. They're good. But the issue I have is it's sort of like some of our good friends on the Peristyle and the message board. You make this declaration, like just because you voted a team. So you had Florida, like I bought into the hype with the quarterback and all that stuff, and this team's like number 15 in the country. If you see something that changes your mind, because the whole offseason, that's what you've talked about. It could be South Carolina, whatever. And then you see something that changes your mind, or you feel like, oh, I don't think USC is going to be that good because they were 6-6 last year. And I know they beat 2 SEC teams, but you see them put up 73 in week 1. I get it. It's a bad team. Then you can like switch. You can be like, you know what? I thought this team was going to be good, and I thought this team wasn't going to be good. I saw a game, and now that's going to change my mind. So just because I had this team 15 and this team unranked doesn't mean I can't swap them going in. I feel like they get there's hard line on, well, I put them here now. I got to there's no way to move them. Well, yeah, there is. You used a whole off season of what you thought was going to happen. Now you're going to stick with that instead when you actually see what happens. We get what the Peristyle thing is. Someone sees a prospect, like some 4-star guy, and they'll, Joe SC on the Peristyle goes, this guy's going to be a 4-year starter for USC and win the Heisman. And then you kind of see him, his senior year, he's not as good. And for whatever reason, the guy who said that, Joe SC, is going to keep going, no, wait. And he's going to figure out ways to try to prove his original take was right. If you're an AP voter and your ballot, that's preseason. You get to watch some games and go, wow, I was wrong about this. Drop them out. Oh, I was wrong about this. Put them in. I don't see why you have to, this was our preseason ballot is in pen. And now to move, you have to lose or do something. If a team looks like crap and they won, get them out of there, So that's what I have the biggest issue with. You can't be married to a preseason ballot that you're basing on a zillion guys enter the portal and coaching changes and all that stuff. So that's my rant on the AP poll.
The last thing I would say, Clemson, they had a couple losses. They are out. They deserve to be out. I'm not debating that. But, you look at the others receiving votes, and the chat's oh, why is Notre Dame still in there? Wouldn't you think Notre Dame is better, even with these first 2 losses, than BYU, South Florida, South Carolina right now with their injury situation, Mississippi State, TCU, Arizona State, Tulane, Louisville? To me, I look at all those teams, I'm I think Notre Dame's probably better than those teams. It's not some, hard, Notre Dame is ranked and they're 0-2. There's just not a lot of really good teams.
Yeah.
Notre Dame has a lot of talent. They played A&M in Miami really close. So what if they're in there?
I don't have an issue. But so they're 0-2, but there were 2 close losses. But if they host Purdue and
win, crap, get them
and
out.
win 21-20, even if they won, drop them out. It's hey, you beat Purdue. Who cares? You've lost 2 games and then you didn't look good against a bad team. So now you're out. That's what I have the issue with. I have no problem 0-2. I know it's not a power ranking. Would you rather play or who's favored and all that stuff. I get it. But yes, then move a team if they look like crap against a bad team, and they also have 2 data points of losses. So that's why I feel like they just don't do that kind of stuff. And so as an AP poll voter, and I told Bruce to tell Ralph Russo. I don't know if he's still doing it, but I'm like, hey man, put me in. I'll do it. I've been doing this thing for 30 years. I can vote in this stuff.
All right.
That was a long one.
That was great. I quite enjoyed that.
Heisman, AP.
Exactly. Also, was it Dylan Gabriel who was the third person with Genty and Hunter?
He could have been. I got to go back. I always forget who my ballot is. But I remember who I voted for. But
I think he was at the ceremony.
Or yeah, that's what I had that image in my mind. All right, our next questions. Greetings to all of you at uscfootball.com. Thank you for the amazing content and excellent coverage of the team. And looking ahead to Michigan State, I think I discovered their key to thwarting the Trojans' defense. Their tight end room looks monstrous, and Jonathan Smith will know the struggle our secondary has had the past 3 weeks. Do you think the tight end could be a legitimate threat to this defense? Maybe ask Stanton Lincoln about the tackling challenges and the philosophy of not tackling in practice. Danton recently gave a quote that they don't tackle in practice and that they will drill tackling. This is a significant concern, Jeremiah.
It's funny that Jeremiah says that because Jonathan Smith had a really physical week of practice before Youngstown State, and a bunch of his guys got hurt, and he was asked if he regretted that, and he said yes. So you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't with the,
Can't
with
win
the
either way.
tackling
Yeah.
stuff. So I would take the USC route. You don't want to get your guys hurt in practice, but the tight ends are good for Michigan State. Jack Velling is a guy we talked about, and then
he sent like a photo of like their tight end room, and I think some of the guys were like walk-ons, but just they have big dudes at tight end.
Well, Velling is an NFL prospect, not like a high-end one, but he's someone who has a chance to be drafted in the later rounds. I have too many tabs open, but they have another tight end who caught a touchdown against Youngstown State. Especially if Nick Marsh can't play, their star receiver, I think the tight ends will have a big role against USC. They're going to have to, because that's probably one of the only spots where Michigan State has a potential true advantage.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeremiah, for that one.
Thank you. Hi, Ryan. Double and automatic. Double makes me think of In and Out. I've been watching Ryan Sayari, is that how you say his last name? With amazement this season. He has been such a reliable kicker so far, including this past Saturday on a very wet field. Can you tell me anything about this young player? I can see from his profile that he's a freshman from West Hills, California, but that's about it. Did he fly under the radar? I haven't even heard of him before about 3 weeks ago. Could it be that USC will not skip a beat after losing their 2024 Ray Guy award winner, Any Klipinski, is that how you say his name? To graduation. Fight on and win. Steve in Poway.
Stephen Poway with kicker questions.
Yes, but Eddie was a punter. Ryan Sayeri punted once last year, so he's a redshirt freshman, Ryan Sayeri. He did get in the bowl game last year. Remember, he got run into, and it was a 5-yard penalty, and he still boomed the punt. So It wasn't the 15-yard variety, so I think USC declined the penalty because it was such a good punt. So for kickers, I wouldn't say he flew under the radar. He was at Chaminade High in West Hills, as Steve pointed out, and he was hitting ridiculous kicks in high school, so I'd heard of him just being around here, and USC wanted him. They got him. I'm not sure if he's on scholarship. I don't think he is, so he got a preferred walk-on spot, but he's just a guy who was a really good kicker in high school, came in, adjusted to the college life in his first year. There was a kicker injury, Caden Chittenden ahead of him in his second year, and Ryan Sayeri is good enough to come right in and be a really good kicker. He gets all of his kickoffs through the end zone. I know he doinked that one field goal, but still going 4 out of 5 in wet conditions is pretty good. Lincoln Riley really talked up Ryan Sayeri this week on Trojans Live. I know why he's flown under the radar, because he wasn't supposed to be the starter, but this is a kid who's proven. He was a really good kicker in high school. That's translated to college ranks. He usually comes out to practice first. He's got a good head on his shoulders. I think he's a really good kicker, a good guy, and I expect him to have a lot more success.
Yeah, and just being able to, the way USC's scoring, one way to get momentum back is a big kickoff return. So if you can just keep putting them deep in the end zone and give the defense a chance from the 25, that's a weapon. And, USC had some weapons on special teams last year and looking a little similar this year. They're not have to punt very much, so you're not seeing no Ray Guy Award winners this year because they're not punting very much.
That's a good point. But the punter is the holder on the field goal, Sam Johnson. So he is getting out there a little bit.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but last week you mentioned you weren't sold on the defensive line. Maybe you should say just Silver and Jarrett. Has your opinion at all changed? That was in parentheses. Has your opinion at all changed after this week? I was happy to see different packages and substitutions up front, beginning as soon as the first drive. Plus, Boucard and Stewart getting many significant snaps was great to see. Looks like the depth of this group is really coming to fruition. Is this the clear strength of the defense? Fight on, Dylan and Albuquerque.
I mentioned last week that I wasn't totally sold on some of those edge guys. I wanted to see it against better competition, and we'll still continue to monitor that against the better teams. But, I mean, number one in sacks nationally, the front is clearly the strength of the defense. They looked tremendous against Purdue, 4 first-half sacks. So it's hard not to be sold. I definitely feel a hell of a lot better about them than I did at the beginning of the season. The group is deep and talented and really, really good. We'll see how they do against some of these better teams, but I think they're going to be a factor all year long. So, yeah, Dylan's right to point out my skepticism, because I don't think it was totally warranted, especially after what happened against Purdue. Yeah, I'm all in on the defensive line, and I don't know how you wouldn't be after what they've done.
Nice. And then our last one. Hey, guys, Ryan traveling in the south of France. Actually, a Canadian couple we meet in the Luberon and had a beer with. LaBelle V, James Boone, class 80-82.
So he included a photo, and I can, if you want to put it on the shot of me,
Yep.
But like, does this look like me kind of, or like, so he met this Canadian couple.
That is hilarious.
So he met a Canadian
Quick
couple.
glance.
Yeah, I guess I could have just put this up on the screen, but whatever. Yeah, quick glance. I was like, oh, that kind of looks like me, but no, that wasn't me. But he wondered if I was not in the south of France.
That's hilarious.
I'm not Canadian.
Looks a little bit like you. That's
It
funny.
does, especially in a
like
quick
the further
glance.
away, yeah, it does. And then I zoomed in more. I'm like, okay, it doesn't as much, but
Yeah, if you quickly looked.
but I thought that was just funny. Thanks, James, for sending that over. So
That is too funny. All right, let's get into some
chats.
chat questions. All right, let me pull it up. Okay, we got some from YouTube and Facebook. First one from Trojan Fight. If USC has a close loss to Illinois on the road, will we get the Tennessee treatment and not drop it all?
I think that you're 4-1 at that point, and it's close on the road. Like, yeah, I think they could stick around.
It depends if they're 25. Like, if they're 25 and they drop like a spot, then you're out of it. So
Yeah,
could
I
see
think you
people
would kind of
with their
keep them around. They probably did enough.
pitchforks,
at that point.
but yeah, I mean that's a tough spot. I don't. If they do move down, I don't think it would be much. There's probably going to be an upset this week. I haven't looked at the schedule, but usually someone drops. So I imagine if USC takes care of business against Michigan State, that could give them a little room to maneuver if they do have a close loss against Illinois. Going into that game, they might not be 25 anymore.
Yeah. And real quick, we did have a second voicemail, Eddie in Orange. Look, Eddie, I know the game you're playing. Like, I can't do 2-minute voicemails from you if you're like running or whatever. Like, if you want to leave us a voicemail, minute or under, clear. I want to hear you, not like you're running or doing something like that. So, I don't know. I'm not playing that game. So, sorry, Eddie. But quick voicemails from you, we'll do them, but not like 2-minute ones. TLDL. All right?
I don't even.
Too long, didn't listen.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Wow, you just
Look at
came
that.
up with an acronym.
Yeah.
All right, next question from Thack21. I really liked how Jayden used his legs in the Purdue game. I still would like to see a bit more, but it was enough to be effective. Over under 100 yards rushing, had 45 2024 and 24 2025.
Like for the season,
I'm not sure.
he's
Think
definitely
so.
running a little more. Like
Yeah.
in general with some of the option stuff, but
He converted that one fourth down. Maybe was it 2 that he have, or I
he
think
converted the one in the first half when he really lowered his shoulder.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
it was like an RPO thing. Yeah.
Yeah, he's running that really well. He ran in for the touchdown. I kind of think what you see with him is what you're going to get. Like that, what he's doing right now is kind of his best running, I think. I don't think he's a guy where you take the shotgun snap and it's just a design run up the middle. He's more of, you got to play that RPO game. There needs to be a little bit of a ball fake to really spring him. And he's capable of those runs, but like if he's out there by himself, drops back to pass, and then takes off, like he's not a great runner just in general. He's good enough and he's capable of it. Like he can get those 5-yard carries. If there's some space, he can break out and get 15-yard carries. But like I don't think there's like another couple levels above him in terms of really good quarterback runners. He's not the most slippery runner. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he's probably going down if he's contacted, but he can still fight through tackles because he's really strong. So I wouldn't expect any crazy running games from him in the future. I think what he's doing right now is good enough, and I expect him to continue to do that.
I want to see a little bit better, and I think you get spoiled with a guy like Caleb Williams when a play would break down, and we saw this like with Sam Darnold back in the day too, where you bust out of the pocket and you're running towards the sideline and your eyes are still downfield. You don't necessarily want to throw the ball back, a across the middle, but finding someone on the sideline where you just gun it to him. And I think I thought he looked really good when the just first, second read or whatever, boom, boom, boom. Or if he kind of ran within the offense and the play. But when it broke down and he kind of left the pocket, it just seemed like that was going to be a throwaway or a run out of bounds thing. So I'd like to see a couple of plays like that. I don't know, maybe I'm being unfair, but have you seen much of that with them? Or
Sorry, I was looking at the chat
okay.
and Thack asked or said 100 yards for the year. I think he can get to 100 yards for the year. But what plays are you talking about?
Just in general, like I like it when there were he's in the pocket and first, second read.
Yeah, just
boom,
take
boom,
off.
boom. But if he could run too, but then once it's like, oh crap, the pass rush is there. Now you're breaking out of the pocket and it's sort of a fire drill out in the field. I'm not finding him to like what Caleb Williams would be able to find somebody open. It's more of just running to the sideline and kind of throwing it out of bounds or running out of bounds. And you don't necessarily want him to make some hero play where he's throwing back off 1 foot across the field. It gets picked off going the other way. But you'd like to see a play or two kind of made down there when the initial play doesn't work and you have to bust out of the pocket.
He can definitely get better at that. I think he is a quarterback right now where he's got the reads, and if they aren't there, not that he doesn't know what to do, but like they're quarterbacks who really excel in that situation when it's the fire drill, and I think he's still learning how to handle those fire drills.
Yeah, like Caleb Williams was just amazing at it, but I think it's sort of getting him in trouble in the NFL because you have to sort of, I think what Jayden's doing now, like working within the confines of the offense, is what they want in the NFL, especially like a guy like Ben Johnson with the Bears, where Caleb's used to just improving. And so, yeah, I think you'd rather have him do that. Just Lincoln Riley runs a great offense. If he can run what Lincoln Riley wants him to do, then you're going to be, 90% of the time you're going to be fine.
I'm going over 100 yards rushing. All right, let's see. We've got one from Blackie Chan Gaming. Do you think Lincoln running the ball 90% of the fourth quarter was a sign that Lincoln trusts the run game and the OL more than he did last year?
I think he definitely trusts the offensive line more than last year. Woody Marks was a pretty trustworthy running back for the most part. So I kind of lean towards that. But they had a 2-score lead like consistently in that second half, which makes it a lot easier to trust the run game too.
I think it's situational and part of not finishing games. Lincoln Riley talked about when you have a chance to put a team away so there can't be a fourth quarter comeback, do that. They weren't able to do that. But then when you have a chance to put the team away in the fourth quarter, I think it was just more of an adjustment than anything. Not necessarily trusting the offensive line, but just like, hey, we have to finish this game. We're not going to be throwing the ball if we don't need to. We're going to run it and be more effective doing it. And I think it's more of like adapting to what happened last year and trying to prevent that from happening again.
Yeah.
And then we've got a question from Anthony. Does Eli start getting more even reps to Wayman, or has that already happened?
I don't think yet, but maybe if Eli keeps rushing for like 7 yards per carry like he did against Purdue. One of those runs, it was inflated. He had that 3rd and 11 run at the end of the first half when Purdue was just playing total prevent defense, didn't want to give up a big pass play, and you rushed for 20 yards. So that definitely helped out his average. But if they didn't take Wayman Jordan, like Eli was going to be the guy. So they clearly have a lot of confidence in him too. We could see more of an even split if that continues. But I don't think Wayman's done anything where it's like, oh, he deserves to not have as many carries as he's had. I think he's still clearly the starter.
Yeah.
And then we got a Facebook question. Thank you, Mike
Thanks,
Russ,
Facebook.
Sr. Do you think the strength and conditioning is noticeable so far this year in the fourth quarter? Good question.
I don't know
I think
necessarily.
so. I don't know.
Yeah,
Right?
like
yes.
it's
No
not like-
one's like dead.
Yeah.
No one's reaching for their hands on their legs, like
That matters.
catching their breath.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I mean, yes, I think they look better, but I think it's just more. It's everything. It's not just the strength and conditioning coach fixed the fourth quarter. It's more change the culture a little bit with discipline, coming in all wearing the same sweatsuit, like all that stuff. I think those little things, and I think partially, what you're doing strength and conditioning wise and making them better in the fourth quarter. But I just feel like it's a more buttoned up deal behind the scenes where guys know like what their responsibilities are, actions have consequences, all that kind of stuff. And they seem to be doing the right thing, seem to be all, guys more on the same page. So I think it's all of it, not just that they're in better shape right now.
Winning mindset.
Yeah. I think
From Jeff, y'all excited for Big Noon next week?
We finished up our arrangements, so I think I'm excited, right? Are you excited?
Big Noon, like, I don't mind the early games. Like, the late ones are tough. Even the Purdue game being 3 hours later made it so we didn't get back to the Airbnb till like 2 in the morning. So we have a late, I'm not complaining, it's just the nature of our job, but it takes a while after games, to do all the work you got to do. So when you can get it out of the way like that early, we're going to be in Chicago. We're actually going to be able to have like dinner together Saturday night. Like Friday we get in.
Unless there's a lightning delay.
Yeah, unless there's a lightning delay, which who knows. But we would try to get in and do like dinner on Friday, but we're going to do a meetup so if you're going to, in 2 weeks, we'll be at the Theory Bar, and we're working with the Chicago alumni group there. We packed it 2 years ago. It should be a lot of fun. But last year or 2 years ago, we went to like pizza first, and then we were late to the event. Now we can just go right to the event. And then Saturday night, because we should be done somewhat early, watch some college football and go out for our deep dish pizza and fly out early Sunday morning. So for us, I like the Big Noon, especially when you're traveling. Like, get the game over with, and then, we got back at 2 in the morning, and like we were leaving the Airbnb at 4:30 in the morning to get to the airport. So that wasn't much of sleep.
Wasn't fun.
That was not fun. So I have no problem, especially with road games. If you're going to do early kickoff, I'm good with that.
Me too. I totally agree.
Yeah. India might not want to wake up early and watch the game, but we'll see.
I'll be up.
She was just getting out of the 9-0 and just like, I gotta go watch the game.
Exactly. A question from Trojan Fight. Didn't Riley try to get Childs as a recruit, but he stuck with Michigan State?
I don't remember.
Well, he went to Oregon State and followed Jonathan Smith.
Yeah, he was an Oregon State recruit, or commit there.
I don't remember Riley ever really going after him. I could be wrong, but I don't.
I think if Riley wanted him, he
accurate.
probably wasn't going to Oregon State, is my guess, but I don't know.
The chat would have to correct us, but
Gerard will be like, yeah, I don't remember that being like a thing. It was definitely a big deal for the Beavers to get Childs, and then obviously the Pac-12 explodes and Smith leaves,
Rest
and
in
just
peace.
it's just like they had DJ, I believe, and then everyone wanted Childs to come in. And I think he came in like late in the season or something.
he spent that first year at Oregon State and didn't play a ton.
How many did he like? Because DJ was the starter, and it just was like.
But I don't think so. Between him he was always following Jonathan Smith, I think. I don't remember him ever really testing the waters and threatening to go somewhere else.
Yeah, maybe Riley came in late or something, but I'm guessing if Riley wanted him, and he's probably going to USC over Oregon State if they really put the pressure on, but I don't remember exactly. But yeah, he wasn't a Michigan State signing. He was package deal with Jonathan Smith when he took the job.
Gotcha. Next question from Mark97. PFF had Maiava with 3 turnover-worthy plays. Do you think Jayden is getting more confident in taking risks, or is he regressing to last year?
Funnily, that's not a word. Funny worded question. I don't think he's regressing. I think he's clearly better than last year, but he made some mistakes against Purdue that against better teams, you're going to have to be a little more buttoned up on some of those throws. So while he's unquestionably, to me, more comfortable, improved, better, whatever adjective you want to use, a little bit of last year Maiava came out against Purdue. Not a lot. It wasn't an issue. He didn't have any turnovers, but there were a couple plays where he put the ball in harm's way for sure. Yeah,
more than we've seen. I think there was only one within the first 2 games, but if you're a quarterback and you're trying to make plays, sometimes the ball's going to be in harm's way.
It's can't always be perfect.
You can't be he'd never even if you're never even coming close to throwing an interception. Like the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history have thrown a lot of interceptions, right? It's I'm not saying that you want to strive for that, but if you're never I think you're doing something wrong if the ball never is in danger of being in the because you got to try to make plays sometimes, and So you want to do it in a smart way. So I wouldn't be worried, because PFF had some number of 3 turnover-worthy plays. I wouldn't worry too much about it. I mean, to me, he looks like he's taking care of the football better. And he's going to turn the ball over at some point. I mean, if he goes the whole season without a turnover, I mean, that'd be pretty ridiculous. But he's going to have some turnovers, But you're like, oh, he's getting close to turnovers. I think you should worry. He's just back to like last year. I'm like, I'd rather go with 3 games, no turnovers, and just be like, that's pretty darn good.
That's how I see it, too.
We've got a question from Isaac Klein. What's your thought on linebacker play, specifically Desmond Stevens? Seems like Jaden Walker is a more sure tackler, but worse in coverage. Do we see him get more play time against run-heavy teams?
Good question.
Yeah, good question. I still need to really look back at the second half and examine what Desmond Stevens did because he's getting a lot of hate, but I think he's fine. And there are plays where Purdue would have a couple chunk plays in the run game, and like it was on Eric Gentry's side. In that first half that I rewatched, I didn't look at anything, and I was like, oh, Desmond Stevens made a big mistake here. He's graded out pretty well in all the games. He doesn't have the helmet communication tool anymore. Maybe that'll help him play a little faster, but I would be surprised if he wasn't starting against Michigan State and they went to Jayden Walker more. Maybe Walker will play more like off the bench, but I don't think Stevens has done anything to warrant being benched.
I don't think so either. I think he does play well in space. I think some just filling in some of the run fits. I think there's been some mistakes there, but I mean he's young, he's learning, and I don't think there's something you're going to bench him or anything like that.
We've got another question from Thack21. Let's say Jayden has a great year, leads USC to 10-2 record, and decides to come back for senior year. Does Longstreet stick around for another year? Would Lincoln Riley use him more if he stayed?
I think it's always going to be one quarterback with Riley, and it would be up to Longstreet's camp. If they were guaranteed that he'd be the starter in 27, then maybe he'd choose to stay because playing under Riley's so valuable, but we all know the deal. A lot of those quarterbacks, they want to go in that second year. You kind of get the 1 year to redshirt, and then ideally you're turning it over to them. Not everyone's Arch Manning and comfortable waiting, although he kind of stinks. So maybe
that doesn't help the waiting camp.
Exactly. Maybe there's a reason he wasn't playing. But that would be a squarely Hassan Longstreet decision with his camp, so tough to say.
We saw Miller Moss stick around, but he wasn't as
another tough one for the waiting
Harold.
camp.
Yes, it didn't. What's it going on Louisville? They like 2-1 or something, or do you know?
I think they're 2-0.
Are they 2-0? Okay.
I think he's got 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I think.
Yeah, he's doing okay. They're not lighting it up. Yeah, 2-0. They've beaten Eastern Kentucky and James Madison.
James Madison was close, right? Like they might have been losing that game, and they came back or something.
They covered right at the end, and they didn't cover right at the end, but I bought a point, so I ended up winning. Anyway, yeah, he didn't look great early in that game, but they did enough. Their offensive line's bad. It sounds like last year where I'm making excuses for him, but he's done enough to get to 2-0 against 2 not great teams, so we'll see what happens in ACC play with him.
All right.
We've got a question from Facebook. Thank you. Bobby Robinson Prez.
Bobby, I love Bobby. What's up, man?
When SC wins this weekend, how high in the AP poll would you like to see us rise?
I think this game's all about style points, where if they blow doors on Michigan State, maybe they get inside the top 20, but if it looks like the Purdue game where they win by 2 scores or something like that, I could see them staying put.
Yeah, I think 20 is a good spot to be in, and it would be like if Illinois wins, it'd be like number 9 versus number 20. Like that would be a big one. So yeah, I think probably in that range is good. Again, not too worried about it, but if they look impressive and they're 2-0 in Big Ten play, and then they blow out like a Michigan State team, as an AP voter, you should be able to adjust that. You're like, you know what? I only had them. I just got them in the poll last year, but they look a lot better than I think. So I'm going to move them up even more. I wouldn't have an issue if they did, but I don't think the poll will do that, even if USC looks like, oh man, they just blew this team out. Like they're better than what we originally thought, which is all I'm asking. If you think, just because you thought something preseason doesn't mean you have to stick with it.
You have to be willing to change. Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
You saw games like.
You gotta adjust.
You can't just like, well, teams can move up like 3 spots if they win, or I get it. If you beat like the number 1 team, you can do that. But there's a lot of information, especially in the like outside of the top 10. Like people should be able to move a ton, like without, beating the number one team where you jump up 10 spots. Like, you should be able to move a lot if you like. They don't look very good, so we're going to move them down. Or, oh, they look great. We're better than I thought. Move them up.
I'm with you.
We've got a question from Jose Lopez. What do we think of our 2-minute drills in the past 3 games? I feel they've been abysmal.
Definitely an area USC can improve. They got bailed out by the big Eli Sanders run the first week. I don't exactly remember what happened against Georgia Southern, but I don't think they got points, or if they did, maybe it was a field goal. And then it was more of a 1-minute drill against Purdue, and that left a little bit to be desired.
Yeah, that didn't look good at all. That just looked like they kind of gave up on it, too.
Well, I mean, understandable. The first play, remember, Maiava was pressured in his own end zone,
Yeah.
and he just threw it away. So that the writing was kind of on the wall there. And then they tried, I think, a screen pass to Nook Hines, and he got stuffed for a loss of 2. So when you're going backwards in that spot, I don't blame him. They tried on the last play. Maiava dropped back, was going to throw it deep, and then they just had a coverage sack. So it's tough to really get too down on him when it was only a 1-minute situation and they were deep in their own territory. If it was 2 minutes, you would have liked to have seen more structure and some different play calls. But they didn't have a huge problem in the Purdue game, but they haven't done a 2-minute drill very well so far.
Yeah.
We've got a question from Trojan Fight again. How do you guys, as media reporters, like the 11 a.m. kickoff at Illinois?
Yeah, we just kind of talked about that a little bit, but yeah, I'm
like
good.
it.
Yeah, it's good. Early games to cover.
Better than 8 p.m.
Yeah, so we can get to bed at like a decent hour and stuff. But yeah, the whole Purdue 2-hour sleep thing, that was not good.
No.
Question, another one from Facebook. Thank you. Stephen Conroy. How important psychologically do you think last week's win was, considering it was the first victory in the Eastern time zone since 2012, and it happened after a really long delay? Referees at least did not seem supportive, etc.
I think it was way bigger psychologically for fans than players. That's my view on it. I don't think the players pay attention to any of that
yeah,
stuff.
they definitely don't.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I mean, yeah, the players weren't around in 2012, but I mean, the guys that were around last year know, hey, Big Ten road, bad. Like, Purdue win, Big Ten road now, good. Like, I think it's pretty simple there. But it historically, I think it meant something too, and probably less pressure on the coaches that know, like, hey, we got to go out and maybe, Riley did things a little bit differently. He ran the ball more in the fourth quarter, just making sure, look, we're not screwing around. We're not getting style points at the end. We're going to finish the drive, run the football, eat up a lot of clock, force a 3 and out, like, boom. Yeah, I think it's the right thing to do.
Question from Mark Luzik. Would you take any of the current Bruin decommits?
I don't know enough about them.
Yeah, we haven't looked too deeply in it, but UCLA was recruiting really well.
4 down, 4's down.
They jumped into like the top 15 or something, I think. Obviously, that's now not happening because they've had a whole bunch of decommits in the first like 24 hours of Deshaun Foster getting fired. But I haven't looked at closely enough. But USC's got the number 1 class in the country. I think they're pretty solid and feel good about where they are. But yeah, no one that I know of off the top of my head, like, oh, they're definitely going to go after this guy.
We got 2 more questions.
We got a lot of questions in the chat.
we do.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Yeah.
Brandon Myrick. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Any timeline for Graham? Any?
Not sure on the timeline, but I think he's out again this week.
Yeah, Alex Graham, unfortunately. But, maybe him and Prophet could come back in the meat of the schedule, and that would be helpful. But, yeah, no timeline yet.
Last question from Ajax. This is a random question, he says.
Okay.
Sawyer Robertson versus Maiava, QB battle with neutral wide receivers. Who wins?
Is Sawyer, I'm going to be bad here, is he the Baylor quarterback?
I think so. Yeah,
Yes.
he's the guy that he actually looks legit. I haven't seen a ton of him, but
Baylor's one of those teams, they just do nothing for me. I don't care about Baylor. If they're on, they don't get me excited.
He's being talked about, though. Like some people are like, he could be the best quarterback like in the country and stuff.
He threw 2 picks against Samford.
Apparently, but people have I don't know. I've heard a lot of good things. What's he got? 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns.
Yeah, and maybe the picks weren't his fault, but yeah, sorry, wrong Wrong audience for this question.
I've definitely heard national people I know a lot of people are really high on him. I haven't studied his, I don't watch him enough to know what's going on there, but he's definitely getting a lot of national buzz, and maybe that's the point of the question where you're comparing Maiava to someone that's definitely getting a lot of national buzz, and Maiava's starting to get there too. I think he's going to move up if they keep winning and he keeps not turning the ball over. He's going to have some really good numbers. There's an advantage of just being like the starting quarterback at USC. If the team is really good, if Jayden Maiava was the quarterback when USC was in 2022 and won 11 games, he'd probably win the Heisman too. So I think he'll get his due, but USC's going to have to go out and beat, if they beat Illinois, there's going to be a lot more people talking about him. Yeah.
Someone responded to a tweet and said that they think Maiava's the best quarterback that Riley's had at USC. So some already have him ahead of Caleb.
The number 1 overall pick, the guy that won the Heisman.
Wow.
I don't know if I'm going there, but there's potential there. We'll see if he can keep it going.
He certainly looked really good against Notre Dame before the very end. I remember leaving that game thinking, oh man, those pick sixes, yes, that was bad, but I was impressed with him before that.
Right, and then it was weird. You thought they would carry that over to Texas A&M, and he looked
finished strong.
He looked really bad for 3 quarters or 3.5 quarters, and then
That's it. That's all our questions.
Nice. You want to kick us out? Kick us out of here, or how do
you want to do it? I mean, you started it. I feel like it's only right for you to end it.
Started it, Ryan.
I got to start it. I got to finish.
Tomorrow's my time for the intro and conclusion.
Yes, we'll be back for tomorrow evening Tunnel Vision. There's actually a special bonus podcast that came out this week.
Yeah, I didn't even know about this.
I listened to it. Chris Trevino, basically like a stream of consciousness on the road. I saw it in my feed in the car, and I'm like, what? And I started listening to it. I'm like, I thought it was just the Helium Boys podcast, but no. Chris didn't tell anyone he was doing this. He actually gave me a shout out at the beginning. He's like, I didn't tell anyone, even the staff, I'm doing this. Hey, Ryan. And I was like, okay. But listen to that one. That's fun. But you can listen to all the podcasts. I think we're doing 8 a week or something. There's a lot. So you don't have to listen to anything else. You can just listen to USCFootball.com podcast, know everything about USC football that you could possibly know. But yeah, we appreciate watching live in the chat and being active and part of that. The voicemails, the emails, leave us reviews, all that kind of stuff is awesome. So for Automatic, India Otto, triple-double, not double-double like that emailer said. I'm Ryan Abraham. Hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we will talk to you next time.